Verse 92. Sri Vishnu Sahasranaama Stotra. Dhanurdharo dhanurvedo dando damayita damaha aparaditaha sarvasaho niyanta niyamo yamaha. There are 10 names in this verse, 5 in each line. Dhanurdharaha dhanurvedaha dandaha damayita damaha aparajitah sarvasaha niyanta aniyamaha ayamaha. Dhanurdharaha, wielder of the bow, brings to mind immediately the Rama manifestation of Mahavishnu. Dhanurvedaha, one who knows, who is perfect in the science of archery. Dandaha, scepter, the one which is kept with the dispenser of justice. Damayita, punisher of the wrongdoers. Damaha, self-control, which is so necessary for meditation. Aparajitaha, unconquerable by anyone. Sarvasahaha, one who is willingly, smilingly tolerates all adversity. Niyanta, ordainer, controller. Aniyamaha, unrestrained by anybody or by anything. Ayamaha, one without death. Dhanurdharaha means wielder of the bow. The most well-known and famous wielder of the bow is Lord Rama, who is also known as a Kodandarama. In his incarnation as Sri Rama, Mahavishnu drew the great bow as no one else ever could. Even as a young boy, when he went along with Vishwamitra Maharshi to Mithila, he was able to lift the great Shivadhanus, which nobody else could do, and string it very easily. In the process, as we know, the Shivadhanus broke in the middle, and this culminated in the auspicious Sri Sita Rama Kalyana. Also in the Upanishad, there is a famous metaphor of the bow with which the arrow of the individuality is to be shot to strike and sink into the goal. The Rishi of Mundokopanishad explains that the bow is the Om, Omkara, the Pranava mantra. Pranavo Dhanuhu, the Supreme is Pranavaswarupa. Mahavishnu is not just the wielder of the bow, he is a master, he is knower of the science of archery. Again, this brings to mind Lord Rama, who was extremely proficient in the science of archery. Single-handed, he was able to defeat and vanquish Khara, Dushana, Trishira and their 14,000 followers in Dandakaranya. The one who propounded the unfailing technique of Om meditation for realization of the self. This is mentioned here because Dhanhu also stands for the Omkara. Lord Rama is a knower of the science of archery. Therefore, he himself is known as Dhanurvedaha. He is personification of the science of archery. Further, Lord Rama also did Pranavopasana to acquire mastery over Dhanurvidya, this science of archery. The Supreme is the one who punishes the wicked, for which he wields in his hand the scepter called Dandaha. Dandaha, normally scepter, it stands for dispensing of justice. It is always shown along with the person in charge of dispensing of justice. In Gita, Bhagavan declares himself to be a sort of a policeman of the universe. He says, Dandaha Damayatam Asmi. Among the rulers, I am Danda, scepter. The entire verse reads like this: Dando Damayatam Niti Rasmi Jagishatam Maunam Chaivasmi Guhyanam Gnanam Gnanavatam Aham. Verse 38 of chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It means I am Danda, the scepter in the hands of the rulers. I am righteousness of those who seek victory. I am silence of the secrets and wisdom of the wise. The, the term Danda can also indicate the scepter, which is the insignia of kingship. Mahavishnu, the king of kings in this limitless universe, holds the specter of royal, total royalty. It signifies his unchallenged sovereignty over all the worlds. Not just three worlds, but as they say, all the 14 worlds in the universe. The Supreme also personifies the punisher of unrighteousness, Damayita. Damayita is the punisher, the controller. He is the one who punishes the wicked. He destroys the sinners, and thereby he is able to regulate and cultivate the life in the universe. The universe becomes a beautiful garden for the blossoms of spiritual beauties. Next name is Dama. Dama or self control, which itself is one divine attribute. Damaha, self control. Damaha is the one which is ultimately gained by worldly punishment, and this leads to the final experiences of bliss. Bliss is called beatitude in the self. The names in this verse, that is from 857 to 866, all these names which are appearing in this verse, they help us how to subdue the Rajasic and Tamasic attributes in our nature. These are two gunas which must be kept in check. Rajasic guna must be kept always under control, and Tamasic should be totally smashed. We should not allow the Samasic pravritti to rise. And Rajasic pravritti is desirable in some situation, but it should be kept under control. All these names, namely Dhanurdharaha, Dhanurvedaha, Dandaha, Damayita, Damaha. These names we have seen so far, and the names which are going to follow in this verse are Aparajitaha, Sarvasahaha, Niyanta, Aniyamaha, Ayamaha. All these fall in one category. They help us to subdue the Rajasic and Tamasic nature in present in all of us. The immediately following verses, after this verse, the names appearing in the verses from this above, that is verse 93 onwards, they enlighten us as to how the Lord takes care of the sattvic persons, how the sattvika attribute can be promoted, enhanced. Now, let us come to the next name in this particular verse, that is Aparajitaha, which means the Supreme who functions is, he functions to punish the wrongdoers. He himself is very powerful. He is unconquerable. Therefore, he is able to punish the wrongdoers, all wrongdoers, however mighty they are. Aparajitaha means unconquerable, invincible, one who cannot be defeated. The Supreme Self ultimately will assert itself within every bosom. Whatever we may do, whatever we may try, the Supreme ultimately triumphs. Supreme represents the spiritual values which will finally emerge victorious in every being because the self alone remains undefeated. When everything else is destroyed, what remains is only the self. It is the Atma. Now, the Supreme is unconquerable both by external as well as internal enemies. Actually, for us, the internal enemies are more dangerous than the external ones. Internal enemies are our own wrong emotions, anger, raga, dvesha, lobha, ahankara, mamakara. These are the internal enemies which are more dangerous for anyone. Now, the Supreme Being, he is so considerate, he tolerates all his enemies to a great extent. He is extremely compassionate. Sarva Sahaha, tolerant of all adversity, of all, maybe even the insults which are heaped on him. The best example is Lord Krishna tolerating the 100 insults thrown upon him by his own nephew Shishupala because he had given a word to Shishupala's mother that I will condone 100 of his mistakes. He patiently listened to all that nonsense, and only when that Shishupala crossed that limit, then he had to cut off his head with the Sudarshana Chakra. So Sarva Saha, he is the one who tolerates all adversity. He is the one carrying the burden of the entire universe. He is the one who meets heroically all the negative impulses of unspiritual persons. There is no shortage of unspiritual persons. There is no shortage of negative impulses. All these things, the Supreme, with lot of compassion, lot of patience, will bear all this. Of course, up to a limit. Beyond the limit, he will have to punish them. That he do. His Damayata uses his Danda and he does that. Now, how does the Supreme carry the entire universe? We say the Supreme is carrying the entire universe. How does he do? What he does is he's a substratum, like mud in the pots, like cotton in a piece of cloth, like gold in various ornaments. Without mud, there can be no pot. Without cotton, there can be no cloth. Without gold, cannot be any ornament. So also, without the Supreme Being's presence and support, no being, no object, no universe can exist. Now, he controls everyone, but who controls him? Nobody, because he is Niyanta. There is none to control him. Niyanta means a controller, he is ordainer, one who has none above him to control him. He is the one who appoints all other controllers of all the phenomenal forces like the sun, the moon, the air, waters, all these things, or all the direct dikpalakas, all the panchabhutas, all these have been appointed by the Supreme to discharge their respective functions. But he is the controller of all these elements, all these phenomenal forces. But he himself has no other control. Now, if this name cannot, that's why if the name can be read as Anyanta, it means there is none else who can control him. Similarly, he is unrestrained. Aniyamaha. Niyamaha means restraint. Aniyamaha is unrestrained. So, one who is not under laws of anyone else, because he is the lawgiver, he is the law, and he is the only lawgiver. It is his hand, his will that governs the inscrutable, unrelenting laws of nature. He is the one. So actually, we equate the law and the lawgiver as one and the same. Now, such a person is the one who also obviously knows no death. Ayamaha, one who knows no death. He is eternal. He is not born. He is ajaha. So one who is not born, how can a one person who is not born will ever die? The principle of birth and death cannot apply to him. He is beyond all these things because death is an event in a time frame. But he is not subject to time. Within time alone, there can be a change which is called death. The pure consciousness, the supreme being, is the one which illuminates the sense of time. The very concept of time has come from the supreme. So he is beyond time. So he is beyond death. Anadi nidanaha. Na adi na nidanaha. Neither birth nor death. He is ajaha. Ayamaha. So with this we can conclude this verse. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti.